If you're someone who often gets trapped in a negative mindset, welcome to being human. I want to share with you some really simple perspective shifts and mindset shifts that you can make to stop being such a negative Nelly. And firstly, I just want to preface this by it is normal to feel down as a human. Like, we're not meant to be happy. Sunshine's coming out of our rainbows, sunshine's coming out of our buttholes every single second of every single day. I think it's actually really unrealistic to believe that you should be happy like every single day, every single second. It's more realistic to be in gratitude, to be in trust of the universe, to be in the receivership of love. But to be happy is kind of just, of course we all want to be happy, but there's going to be moments in life where shit happens, and that's normal. And to think that there's something wrong with you if you do feel a negative thought, or if you have a negative moment pop in, or where you're in a situation that you don't feel good, like, this is just all leading us back to what's actually in alignment for us, right? And there's so many examples that I want to share, but there's two specifically that I wanted to make this video around because they both happened today and they're both super relevant. I'm sure a lot of you will resonate with these, but example number one was I woke up feeling really down. Literally, like, for no specific reason. I just felt low energy, kind of like dreadful, didn't really want to wake up. I just felt like kind of sad. And there's no specific thing that necessarily triggered this. I just woke up feeling this way. And once again, like, it's just so normal to have these moments. Like, we're human. There's going to be duality in our emotions, there's going to be duality in our experiences. Sometimes, even, I know for myself, it's really normal to maybe have like a really high experience or almost like euphoric, happy time, and then after that, it's almost like our body is readjusting to like a little bit of normalcy. And that's normal. It's like pretty much what happens when we come home from a vacation, or we had a really fun weekend and now we're back into like a normal week. Like, it's normal for these emotions to fluctuate. But there's always a way to come back to, like I said, being present, being grateful, living in that energy of love and abundance and receiving from the universe. And so this morning, when I woke up like this, instead of beating myself up for it, like, instead of being frustrated and mad at myself for feeling down and trying to change it right away, like feeling like I had to fix something about me, like there's something wrong with me, which, by the way, usually prolongs those emotions. Like, when we think, oh, there's something wrong with this feeling, or I shouldn't be feeling this way, or who am I to feel this way, or we're frustrated with ourselves, we're putting more pressure on ourselves, and that's just almost making it worse. Like, it doesn't help, right? So the best thing we can do is just acknowledge the feeling, acknowledge the thought for what it is. And it's okay to accept it. It's okay to be like, hey, like, I feel this way today. This is how I feel. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling down, whatever it is. Acknowledge it, accept it, because that's, for the first and most important piece of it, it's going to take the pressure off of you to think there's something wrong with you or you need to change it right away. You don't have to change it. There's nothing bad about those emotions. We've been taught that they're bad, but they're not. They're just part of being human. Sometimes they're signaling something to you. Sometimes they're making you pay attention to something. Sometimes it's just telling you, okay, like, something's not in alignment. They're there for a reason, right? The next thing I always do is, there's probably a handful of things that I know bring me back to a little bit more joy, or that ground me, or that connect me back to myself, connect me back to what actually matters and what actually feels in alignment. And those things for me are typically getting outside, things like putting my feet in the grass, touching a tree, being in the sun, being in nature, going for a walk, like anything outside, essentially, I know will at least a couple percentages lift my spirits at least a little bit. Like, I know this. I know this for a fact. And there's, of course, other things that I like to put on my joy list, which I highly recommend making a joy list. It's just one of the best things you can do for yourself, no matter how small the thing is. Maybe I know that making my favorite cup of tea with my favorite honey brings me joy. Maybe I know that FaceTiming one of my best friends brings me joy. Maybe I know that going for a coffee and a pastry brings me a lot of joy. Sitting in a cafe, reading my book at the beach, just like, again, being outside, like all these things I know are in alignment for me. They feel authentic to me, and they always just help me connect back to myself and what truly matters in my life. Okay, so that's the first example that I want to share. The next one was I just had a call with a client actually, and we talked probably for 45 minutes about this exact thing. How she was explaining how in her new job, she has to commute through train and busing for probably like an hour and a half both ways. So about 2 to 3 hours of commuting in her day. And of course, for her, she was like, it sucks. I don't like it. It feels like I'm wasting my time. It feels like I could be somewhere better. And I'm not used to it, right? Like, she's not used to having that like 1-ish hour every morning to go be at a job for 8 hours and then spending another hour just to get home. And I was like, look, I get it. I've been in so many jobs like that where I've had to bus downtown, be downtown all day, be in an office job all day, and then commute home again. And so many of you listening are probably in that same situation. So this might be really beneficial for you to listen to. Essentially, what I tried to help her understand and see is that, yes, that situation, of course, is not ideal. We have been kind of taught and led to believe that those in between moments, whether we're commuting, we're, traveling somewhere, we're like in transport, we're waiting in line, we're waiting at a doctor's office, we're in limbo. We've been led to believe that that is bad. Like, we should hate that, that is the worst place we could possibly be, and that we're like wasting our time, that we could be doing better things, we could be more productive, all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, we could keep going with that narrative, but does that feel good? Does that serve us? Of course, it's not probably ideal to be spending 2 to 3 hours daily on a commute, but if it's out of our control, why are we allowing our energy to be used in such a negative, soul sucking way? Like, the one thing most of us forget is that we are in control of how we react to things. So while that commute might not be in our control, while we can't necessarily control how long that commute is or how we commute or the people around us or the physical place we're in during that commute, what we can control is how we perceive it and how we choose to feel about that situation. And for her, what I was trying to outline for her that we eventually kind of unfolded together was that those 2 hours for her can be really deliberate and intentional self-care time, like me time, right? Like, those 2 hours can be times where she goes within, spends time with herself. Because for the whole rest of her day at work for 8 hours, she's putting her energy out, right? Like, she's catering to other people. She's probably doing a little bit of people pleasing at her job. She's focusing on a task outside of herself. She's trying to uphold a certain status and role and, labels that have been maybe put on her in her job, all these things. She's putting her energy out. And it's no wonder by the time she gets home, she's exhausted. And when we're exhausted like that, when we spend our whole entire day doing, putting our energy out, focusing on other people, focusing on what other people think, focusing on our job, all these things, we're not coming back home to ourselves. We're not doing any internal connection throughout the day. So that's why we come home, we're exhausted, and we want to plant ourselves in front of our phone or in front of our TV because we want to numb ourselves. We want to distract ourselves, right? Like, that's for us, like, our unwind time. We don't want to think. We don't want to do anymore. So that's why so many people, especially in North America, we like plunk ourselves down in front of a device and we shut off. And while that's fine sometimes, I know for a fact that most of us don't actually want to live that way. Like, we don't want to live exhausted, burnt out, like just too tired to do the things that we love. Like, when there's hobbies we could be doing, when there's self-connection we could be doing, when there's people we could be seeing. And it's not a matter of should. Nothing is like you should be doing XYZ. It's like, what actually lights you up? Do you actually want to just be brain dead in front of the TV for 3 hours after your 8-hour job? Probably not. Like, again, maybe some evenings you just want to binge watch a show. That's fine. I do that too. But for the most part, like, what do you actually want to do? Do you want to go drive to the beach and journal at the beach? Do you want to go for a hike? Do you want to spend time with friends? Do you want to cook a really exciting dinner for you and your partner? Do you want to play cards? Do you want to play chess with someone? Do you want to read your favorite book? Do you want to create art? Do you want to paint? Do you want to sculpt? Like, what actually lights your soul up? We don't know what lights our soul up if we're constantly pushing our energy out and never actually taking the time to go within and never having deliberate practice of self-connection. And so in those 2 hours of her day, actually closer to 3 hours with her lunch break, she has 2 to 3 hours in her day that she doesn't even realize it, but those are times she can go within. Those are times she can spend doing the things that she actually wants to do. Yes, of course, we have like the physical limitations of like we're on a bus or we're on a train, but otherwise creatively, emotionally, spiritually, we can be and do whatever we desire in those times. She could be reading her favorite book, she could be journaling, she could be doing a meditation on the train, she could be listening to her favorite music that lights her up, she could be drawing, coloring in a book. Like really the list is endless actually. The list is endless. Like so much more than just scrolling on your phone for an hour on your train ride to work. What if you actually spent that time going within? What if you spent that time intentionally filling up your own cup? And shifting the perspective to like, oh my God, this commute sucks. I hate this. I hate this train. I hate these people around me. What if we opened up our heart, opened up our ability to receive, and was like, I'm going to make the most of this. I'm going to make the best of the situation. I'm going to spend this time in a way that really lights me up. And maybe not every single day like we'll love it. Maybe sometimes it will be annoying and we'll have our down days, we'll have our moments. That's fine. But for the most part, it's like, how can I see this in a different light? Okay, instead of the energy of this sucks and I hate this, what if we stepped into the energy of like, how could this be really great for me? How could this be really uplifting for me? Like, what if this time is actually really sacred for me and it's a time where I can spend with myself? Because I also said to her, what if there was no commute? And what if you just got home within 20 minutes, but you then spent that next hour scrolling your phone or trying to be productive with things that you don't actually want to do? You're still not filling your cup. So, like, we really don't know what the best case.
Apparently, I can't talk today.
We really don't know what the best case scenario would be here because we're not even giving ourselves a chance to shift the energy of that situation. And there's been so many times where I've commuted, I've been on ferries, I've been on trains, like things that, like you just want to get to your destination. You don't want to be stuck on this thing for like 1 to 2 hours. But in those moments, when I open myself up, I have the best conversations with strangers. I connect with people that I never would have connected with otherwise if I would have been like, oh, I hate this. Oh, this sucks. Like, I'm closed off. Like, I don't want to be here. You're not going to connect with anyone. You're not going to have a good time, obviously. It's like, yeah, I could choose that, but like, why would I? Life is so freaking short. Am I really going to spend 2 hours of my day just like in dread? You have all the control here. You have all the control to change how you're perceiving the situation. And all the times that I've ever been in a situation that maybe I didn't necessarily want to physically be in, I was like, hey, how can I make the most of it? Who is sitting next to me that I can maybe have a really cool, interesting conversation with? What kind of like meditation do I want to be doing right now? What kind of manifesting, opening, receiving energy do I want to be in right now? Like, also, when we're in transit, it's the best time to manifest because we're almost like moving in this forward motion. It's like this physical and spiritual forward motion. I've had some of my best manifestations on a plane, straight up. So anytime you're in a situation where you're like, this sucks, I don't want to be here, da da da, it's like, yeah, okay, like you could keep choosing that energy. Or do you want to take responsibility for how you actually feel, for how you're actually perceiving things, and shift it and make the most of it and then be in this energy of abundance and receiving? Like, you never know the possibilities that could happen to you on that commute, for example, and what you could tap into and the amount of filling your bucket you can access and how much more you can receive in your day because you've taken that 1 to 2 hours of commuting, this isn't her example, but it might apply to you too. Those 1 to 2 hours of commuting you've taken and you've been like, this is my me time. This is the time I'm going to connect to myself. This is the time that I'm going to spend doing things that I really want to do that light me up. And I'm going to totally shift the way I see this part of my day. Take your power back. It's always been within you. Society, it's the world, it's the narrative we've been told that this sucks and you should hate this. And this is not somewhere someone wants to be. It's just like, no, like, I don't want that narrative. That's not going to be my narrative. Take your power back, reclaim your power, and know that you are always in control of how you react to things, how you perceive things. Everything going on outside of you is a direct reflection of how you feel on the inside. Remember that. You are always creating from your subconscious. And your outside world cannot change until your inside world changes. And how you feel on the inside is what creates your external reality. So, let me know how that feels for you. Do you feel like you can shift your perspective even if it's only 1% more positive than it was yesterday? You got this. Easy in the bag. You got this.